I mean, if there's something you want to talk about too, I'm more than happy to go over it. Just have links ready. So hello everybody. We are live. I had 3 ingrown toenails removed from 3 different toes, and I have an appointment at the end of the month to have more removed. But that's neither here nor there. Right now, I'm joined by scientist Mel, and hopefully there are more to come. Mel, would you please shamelessly advertise your channel?
Well, I haven't been terribly active the past couple of weeks, but
Be
I
more
do.
shameless.
Yeah, it's terrible. I'm very shameless. I do science communication. I also talk about different social issues from time to time because people seem to think that scientists aren't human and don't have social issues, in that social issues don't frame any kind of direction where science goes, but it does. Anyway, so I will be going live again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central, for Saturday Morning Science, where we talk about all the different new things that have come out. I usually have coffee chats. We also talk about, we just talk about stuff, and I really like debunking really bad science. It's probably one of my favorite things because it's fun. So check it out if you want to, scientistmel.com. I'm also youtube.com/scientistmel, and I'm on Twitter. And funny thing, I'm permanently stuck on inappropriate content labeled by Twitter because extremists false flag my channel. So it says I'm not safe for work, but I totally am, because Twitter's a problem, but whatever.
I can't
Anyway,
imagine something more safe for work than your channel, but all right. Oh, by the way, if you check look at that in the chat, there's a link to Mel's channel. Who'd have guessed? Oh man.
thank you. Yeah, I'm really safe for work, but I have to appeal every single picture I post, every video, every link. It's a minor inconvenience, but hey.
I mean, still. I mean, no, I mean, saying anything on your channel is not safe for work is like saying, I don't know, let's talk about Machu Picchu, actually, because this I think is damn interesting. As soon as there we go. Hang on. Entire screen. Okay. Why aren't you? Fine. Why isn't this? Here we go. Okay. It's been a while since I've been on you now. Okay. So Machu Picchu has been called the wrong name for over 100 years. Historians reveal its true name. For over 100 years, one of the most famous archaeological sites in the world, Machu Picchu, has been known by the wrong name, according to a report published in I'm not even going to try. Sorry.
That's okay.
The Incas who built the city likely called it Hayana Picchu. I probably said that wrong too, but it translates to new or young. And Picchu means mountain peak, so new or young mountain peak. And I mean, if you just look about how, just the architecture of the city,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic for realistically any civilization, but for an ancient civilization to have done it is just.
Oh, sorry, it's here. Oh, I just kicked our dog.
Oh no.
To be fair, if he wasn't up my fucking ass all the time. Yeah.
No, he does love to stick his nose up Alex's butt and various other parts.
Jesus fucking Christ. Me trying to pee with this dog in the room is...
Fair enough, man. I haven't been to Machu Picchu. I need to I would love to go. I have been to other ruins a long time. Well, my mother was in travel. She's before we had the internet, she was a travel agent. And back in the day, travel agents, they would get like hookups, because we were a poor family, but my mom, she had us get some great vacations because, when you're in a minimum wage job that works on commission, you sell. And so she'd have us go to Mexico. We had like really cool vacations, and we went to a place called El Rey, Rey, but we didn't make it quite out to Machu Picchu. And they had giant freaking lizards that, look like dinosaurs just hanging out. Just sitting around on the ruins. They're
well,
like,
that proves the young Earth.
freaking tiny
Which is another thing
dinosaurs.
Mel tackles on her channel. I've seen her talk about it. And when I say tackles, I mean beats the living piss out of, because Mel's intellect runs circles around mine on my best day and her worst.
No, I'm not. I'm good at some things, but not everything.
Okay, I'll say your knowledge of certain things.
There you go.
But yeah, no, again, Mel's channel is in the chat. You should check it out. Definitely, right click, open a new tab so you can keep hearing us, and subscribe to Mel.
Tear.
Sure.
I'm just saying.
It's all right. It's all right.
Tear, come. Yes, you did.
I was facing the other way.
Oh. Can you not see him in the background? I thought you could see him.
No,
Is it not low enough?
it's not.
Okay, then I'll come in and check on it. The only reason I was confident in feeding them with him standing there is because I thought you could see them.
Yeah.
Never mind. Tear, not for you.
So, fun fact, we have here
Tear. I'm gonna whack
What?
you. I will whack you on live.
6
Whack.
cats and
6
5 kittens.
Yeah, we have 6 adult cats, 5 kittens, 4 hamsters, 2 dogs, and 1 dog on the way. And the purpose of this dog is to get pregnant, so there'll be more.
Oh my goodness. It almost
Mhm.
sounds like on the first day of Christmas, my true love.
Yeah.
You need to
There
make a
must
song
you
for
die.
that.
All for babies.
You need to make like a pet song for that, man.
Fuck, these cats are learning how to explore.
Jesus fucking cats. Learning how to explore.
I thought there was a cat missing. Plus, we have a husky, so every time I see a kitten missing, I think, husky
Aw,
had dinner.
kitty.
This one's Club. He has
Aw.
mittens, and he's
Mhm.
developing a bit of a pattern under his chin.
Aw,
He
It's
said,
a
"It's
kitty.
mine."
it's a
Ow.
kitty.
Thank you for killing me again. Here, I'm gonna kick you.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have Alex hand me the rest so I can hold it in front of the camera. It's much more steady that way.
I'm holding them.
You will give me my princess.
No, this one's his princess. Her name's Rascal. We thought she had a penis. She does not.
All right.
Oh.
Non-penis holding cat.
They just ate, so I don't know why they're so vocal. They're kittens. Never mind.
Aww.
She's a talkative baby and a
Here,
brave explorer.
you guys ate 3
Oh.
meals today, plus all your fat ass snacks and licking mats. You're good.
That just sounds like me.
I mean, like, I
Every last
understand.
one of our animals is spoiled.
Yeah.
They eat better than we do.
I ate all my 3 meals and my snacks.
Plus his licking mats and the stuff he gets during training. And then I had coffee for 2 meals this day.
I didn't lick any mats.
Okay, she says, put me down, Dad. Oh,
She wants her mama.
she wants boobies, and I understand wanting boobies.
Yeah.
Oh, no, okay, I can't pick up the rest.
No.
I'm sorry, but they're playing, so you'll see them later.
And the mama cats are probably feeling protective.
Yeah,
As they do.
Tears in here stealing their food, so
Mm.
Mama Bessie's giving them a bath.
Huh. Did you guys see that Twitter did a mean joke today?
I've been off of Twitter. I just now got back on Twitter. I don't like being online on April Fools. People are dicks.
Is Twitter
Yeah, well,
pregnant?
Twitter
Did
said
Twitter
we're
have a
working on an
missing
edit button.
Oh,
They what?
They put
Twitter
it-
said that they were working on an edit button. I'm like, oh yay! And then I was like, oh crap!
Oh,
it's
wait,
April
what's
Fool's.
Fucking
today?
assholes.
They know that's what the people want.
Yeah, that's why they're fucking with us.
It's so
dicks.
much easier than hitting delete tweet and then starting over from
Mhm.
scratch.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a chronic stoner, so an edit button would benefit everyone.
I mean,
My
even if
tweets
the
might
edit
actually make sense.
if the edit button only worked for like a minute after you posted it, you know, if they're like, well, we
Still.
want to make certain nobody changes anything, and it's like, okay, that's fine, but
Here.
you know, fix it.
You whack your butt.
Jeez, it's so annoying.
Oh yeah.
Tier.
Like the only reason people like me would want an edit button is because of typos.
Which again, I'm a
Yes.
Like,
stoner.
oh no, I put the wrong there. Or the wrong it's.
Oh my gosh.
Or it
I
might be just completely entirely wrong words, like not even in the ballpark. Tier.
yeah.
I
I have
smell
really
food.
bad typos. I recently got like a new side hustle job. It's pretty cool. And it's a writing curriculum job for like the whole US and stuff. And they're government contractors. So I'm like writing stuff for all of the online
Here.
schools in the US. So that's cool. But it's like my assignment to get the job, I had to like make an assessment and something. And then I asked my boss recently if she could like tell me any feedback. She goes, there were so many typos, more than what we would like, but that's why we have editors. And I'm like- so even when I can edit, I still have typos. So-
Well, I mean, typos are always inevitable, but I mean, on something like Twitter where they stupidly restrict you. Dear. He's into cat food again, sorry.
It's all
Like-
right.
Like, ow. Twitter restricts you stupidly to like 140 characters, I think now.
Yeah.
Typos are gonna happen. That's all people really want the edit button for.
It is really annoying. Yeah.
Let's see.
It is really annoying.
The travel agent aspect is cool. I remember when I was in the USCG on a polar icebreaker hosting various scientists on the way to Antarctica. People were paying thousands for cruises.
Yeah, I can honestly say we did not pay that much for cruises and stuff, but cruises can be a bit creepy. I have some creepy stories being a minor on a cruise ship. They're just, it's like,
I fear the legality of possibly some of these stories, but I'm so curious.
well, I mean, there's, you know, when you're in international waters, there's like really no law.
Yeah.
There might be some protocols, but it's not really heavy law based. So I was like 12 years old on a cruise, and I was one of those lovely children that developed pretty young. So I wouldn't go to the kids disco because who wants to dance with a bunch of 9-year-olds? So I'd of course go to the adult disco, and I looked like an adult. So they let me in, 12-year-old. I'd be dancing and stuff. And then the DJ came by and he goes, you keep gyrating like that, I might have to attack. Like 12 years old going, okay then. And then there were kids.
Hi, 9-year-olds.
Kids getting alcohol, playing slot machines. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's different now. And then there was one guy who was trying to get me to go back to his room, and I was a kid. And then there was a weird like waiter server person who would just follow me around. And you would make some friends, some other kid friends on a cruise or something and go. It was early Disney cruises before Disney cruises became a thing. It was like when they were just kind of coming up with the idea. And so we would go and watch The Little Mermaid or something with my little kid friends. And then this waiter was coming around and my other friends would be like, "Oh, he likes you." And I'm like, "He's a grown ass man.
Yeah.
I'm not an adult." So it was kind of weird. You gotta, maybe they're better than when I went,
Whoa.
but hopefully. But
I mean, I
gotta be
can't
careful.
stand kids. Like even teenagers. Oh my god, they're so mouthy. I can't deal with kids. Like
I mean, it's like the clubs, the little dance clubs are supposed to be 18 and older, but they didn't card anybody. You could just walk in and I'm like, "Wow, this place is bumping," and I'd be like grooving because I like dancing and stuff. And then it's just this old man DJ. He had to have been in his 50s. He had like white hair and he had like ladies sitting around him. And so he was like one of those where he had his, and I'm just like, no.
mm,
He might be dead now. I don't know. He's probably really, really old in an old folks' home or in a coma or something.
that's weirdly that gives me a great segue. So you remember when Terry Ross said people were paying thousands for cruises to the South Pacific to see Halley's Comet, where we were regaled with information by scientists every night.
That's fun though.
I know. Like, no, I was that little kid in Alex, people where they grew up called it Bud School. It's intermediate school for me, where I grew up. I was that kid that when I went to the school library, which is now an apartment complex, which is weird. But yeah, no, I'd check out science books because that shit was interesting.
It's fun stuff, man. I was actually
Yeah.
at the grocery store today, like standing in line, wearing my freaking headphones because I don't like to talk to people. But I'm standing there and they had like this big old container of what's called Starlight Coke. Coca-Cola has something called Starlight. And I'm like, "Oh, I know what this is." And I said, they've put the flavor of raspberries in Coca-Cola now, and they're calling it Starlight because scientists recently found the compound that smells like raspberries just floating around in space, right? They just happened to find the compound. Just there it is, the thing that smells like raspberries. It's right there. And Coca-Cola's like, "Oh, let's market this. We're going to call it Space Coke."
Capitalism. At least they know how to market it. I'm gonna grab another beer real quick. So,
Sure.
so I'm curious. Like, I know you've already discussed what you're gonna talk about this coming weekend on your show. What did you discuss last weekend, just to kind of pique people's interest?
I didn't discuss anything last weekend because I started like this new job and stuff. Now a couple weekends ago, I talked about basically how to communicate with others. I mentioned that I had my Twitter false flagged by an extremist group who are actually anti-adoption and they're super turfy. They think that they go after infertile women. They're like, oh, there's a kitty.
He was foreign.
There's, they basically think that infertile women don't deserve to be moms. And
Huh.
so and they're against surrogacy. They're against
Classy.
gay people having surrogate mothers. They call them handmaids. I mean, it's horrible. It's so it's just super turfy and weird, and it's just really gross. One of them actually called my job. One of them called my job. So
Yeah. Jesus.
I know these people are nuts. And you know what happened to me? Nothing. I mean, because they went and read their Twitter. I did actually file a police report because
Yeah.
of how creepy these people got. Well, I basically spent time on my show a couple weeks ago talking about how to communicate with other people. If you want people to listen to you, you don't really want to kick other marginalized groups.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe don't tell infertile women that they don't deserve to be parents. Oh, it's kitties. See, kitties make everything
We
better.
have an endless supply, and this conversation is heavy, so
Basically.
it was
Yeah.
needed.
So I talked about how, the goal of your conversation,
It's
what are
okay
you
to
trying to
mom, you guys
do?
explore
Are you
into
trying to
something.
make people feel like crap? Do you want to be taken seriously? Don't call their jobs. I mean,
Just go straight to where I took them from. I literally just took them from over there, from in on this side of the closet that they're not supposed to be in. I set him down with mom. First place he fucking goes is right where I told him not to go. It's quite
my
irritating and adorable
They're
at the same time.
Their
Little
babies is
babies.
cute and nothing but cute.
Because they're 3 weeks old as of, it's still Friday, right? So yesterday, as of yesterday, 3 weeks old. So they're starting to explore. They're learning how to use their claws and how to beat the shit out of each other, and they still have yet to learn not to go into my shirt
Yeah.
and that my boobies don't
They're-
have milk.
They're wobbling and not shaking when
Yeah,
they walk.
they can actually hold themselves up.
Oh, that's nice.
But
Very cute.
earlier today, I accidentally fell asleep after one of the mamas brought me the kitties. I wake up and it's in my shirt, trying to get milk from me. That's how I woke up. It'd be nice if he'd stop.
Kitties sucking titties. Not gonna work.
Oh, we're talking about the 3-week-old kittens.
Yeah.
They're learning the hard realities of life's and boobies.
Yeah. So the difference between the NIFB and the baby kittens that we have is one group is cute, the other is toxic.
What's NIFB?
New Independent Fundamental Baptist. Stephen Anderson knows.
No, I was talking about an anti-adoption group.
And then I changed the subject to kittens for a
okay.
little bit because it was
Yeah.
kid. So we were just at a crowded brewery, so my tisms kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I understand.
You can go back to talking about it now, though. I just needed to show the kitties for a second.
It's okay. Yeah, I recently encountered those people because a friend of mine, Dr. Steven, who's on Twitter, Dr. Stephen Hobbs, he was tagged in a thread to ask for his perspective because he's been a foster parent, he's an adoptive parent, and he actually teaches classes associated with that sort of thing. He's also involved in college out in Texas. Well, he had mentioned that a lot of what was said in that thread was inflammatory. It was a problem. These people were comparing adopters to child traffickers.
Oh, yeah,
And he
'cause that's
basically,
the thing.
he basically told these people to fuck off. And so what did they do? They called his job and said, I'm an indigenous adoptee. And your person who works for you called an indigenous adoptee to fuck off, told me to fuck off. Is that how you want your institution represented? I'm like, you called him a child trafficker.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty reasonable response.
I mean,
Your ass.
I didn't even it's funny because they came after me next because I stuck up for him. I just didn't even, I wasn't even talking to these crazy people. And one of them was like, I recently published this paper. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Somebody sent me a copy of this paper. I didn't know it was one of these folks until after they came after me. And it's an opinion piece. It's not empirical research. It's not original research. It's a perspective. We need more research on this for this reason. And there's nothing wrong with that. I point that out. This woman accuses me of slandering her. And I'm like, no, your sample size is 1, yourself. This isn't statistically important and it's not empirical research. She called my job and said, she's defaming me. She was trying to dox me on Twitter. And so I tagged her university and the local police in that. I'm like, you need to back off. Her husband messaged me and was like, maybe you should just talk to her. I'm like, I don't want to talk to her. These people call other people's jobs. You need to do something about your woman. Tell her to take a break from social media because she's not handling this okay. I don't want to talk to y'all. Go away. And then that Monday she calls my job. So I filed a police report. They're like, man. And it's funny because now she's coming out saying, my paper's not empirical research. It's just a perspective opinion. I'm like, that's exactly what I said. And you called my job to try to get me fired. They came in my office and we laughed about it. That was your response. So whatever activism you're doing for your anti-adoption, nobody's taking you seriously because you call people handmaids, human traffickers. You call their jobs. We all laugh at you. So good job. Learn how to talk to people. Jesus.
Hell, I barely know how to talk to people. I can do better than that. I mean, Jesus.
So that's what I talked about a couple of weeks ago. How to talk to people, how to make friends, instead of how to lose friends and alienate people. We do the opposite of that on my channel.
How to not F yourself in the bee.
Right?
But I mean, so since this live stream is titled, I had ingrown toenails removed. Mel, I'm guessing that you're okay with discussion about the removal of physical parts.
Sure. I mean, why not?
I mean, it's toenails, so it's not like, this deep in-depth thing. So right now, I am wearing what can best be described as sandals from my podiatrist.
Jesus cruisers from your doctor.
Yeah. Hang on. Let me get them in a good light real quick, and I'll actually show everybody because these are surprisingly comfortable.
Huh. Look at that.
Yeah. That's swanky, right?
I like the Velcro.
Yeah, I do too. Like I cut off the bits that were coming out too far. Because there's this little hang on, this bit right here that latches onto the soft side of the Velcro. Yeah.
That's nice. You should get little pins and you could put like NASA pins on there. Like little NASA pins, and that'd be neat.
Yeah. So I got those, and I actually posted on Twitter, and I'm like, hey, look at this rad footwear I got. But like it's obviously because my trainers wouldn't fit after all the bandaging that the podiatrist had to do. you know,
Probably some swelling too.
oh, definitely. I
Mm.
haven't noticed because for the first hour or two afterward, the toes that I had the procedure done on, totally numb. Not a clue what was going on,
Right.
which I'm thankful for.
I mean, it's nice to have numb toes after having stuff removed from them.
Oh yeah, no, and I mean like so what I had done, it was both of my small toes and
Mhm.
my left big toe.
Okay.
I had ingrown nails on each of them. The small toes, obviously, the doctor had the most trouble on because that's by default they have the least amount of nail on them.
Yeah.
Hang on. Let's see. Scapegoat Iscariot. I was raised by and around people who couldn't reason any better than that. I'm surprised I made it. Did they correct the problem and remove the nails? They started to. So I'm actually describing exactly that right now. So they took I don't know what the tools are called, but they clipped the nail
Hmm.
as deep like into the actually since I have fingers right here, like well
Instead of up here.
yeah, I mean like imagine this fleshy bit but on a toe.
Yes.
They clipped pretty far up in there and then they more or less yanked the ingrown bit
Hmm.
out.
Hmm. Yep.
um yeah, and I mean he had to do some work with the scar tissue because there was a lot because I'm an idiot who doesn't know how to take care of my nails.
You
I'll
should get
admit
you
it.
some pedicures, man. You can get you some pedicures. They go rub your feet. They
Okay,
exfoliate. It's great.
so in my defense, and it doesn't start out great. I was an insecure man in my 20s.
Okay. That's all right.
Then for many years afterwards, I just didn't care.
Okay. Fair enough.
But recently, it began to kind of hurt or be
Mhm.
uncomfortable, which uncomfortable is the better descriptor. So I mentioned something. I'm like, I'd like to get this shit taken out because it's not great. I'd like it to get it taken care of before it hurts. So for
Mhm.
once, I'm getting ahead of a potential medical issue.
Well, that's progress, isn't it?
Yeah, in a
That's
big way.
progress. Mhm.
So if you have um ingrown or impacted, and I can't remember what the other word is, but my left big toe has a nail that's kind of doing an incursion to where it's not supposed to be. It doesn't
Mhm.
hurt yet, but eventually it will. But
Hmm.
it's kind of curving. Do you know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
yeah, he wants to take that out. He just didn't want to take that much out because that'd be both sides of a single toe.
I've had both sides of my single toe taken out before. I used to work for Chick-fil-A once upon a time ago when I was a kid, and I did not have proper shoes, and I was
Mm,
working the register and handing out samples, and let me tell you, that was just not fun at all. And then I had ingrown toenails on both of my toes on both sides, and he just went in, gave me the shots,
mm.
cut off the side, so I had, like, perfectly rectangular toenails for a very long time.
Oh yeah. No, like I had them cut off earlier. Well, now this previous month. Um, but yeah, like I totally left him alone because I was like, no, the doctor's gonna want to be able to have something to work with when he takes this off, and like so again, I'm gonna get a little graphic. So if you're uh
Toe sensitive.
Yeah, or even a little vomity when it comes to discussion about procedures with removing anything to do with the body. Um, like obviously the biggest piece of ingrown nail and scar tissue he got was with my left big toe. 'Cause it is a big toe. It's just gonna happen. But I mean, my right little toe, there was so much that he got with both the ingrown nail and the scar tissue.
Uh-huh.
It was the same size because uh with my left big toe, he had to take the nail and then he had to take the scar tissue in 2 pulls. My right little toe had the same size pull, including the scar tissue and the nail, as my left big toe had with each.
I might have
And
had too much vodka at this point. But I was just thinking, if we replaced toe with testicle, this would be such a weird conversation.
oh no, if it was toe with testicle, I'd have just been like, nope, 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 nope. Shoot me in the head, kill me.
With my left big testicle, they pulled out the scar tissue, and then my left little or my right little testicle. Like, oh my
I don't know where your head's at with, but okay, I'm okay with it.
It's been a weird week, but yeah, no, I get it. It's just like if replace the word toe with testicle, make that a drinking game. So if you go back and watch this, replace the word toe with testicle, and then it's a completely different podcast.
I will break it down for you right now. In the last 3 minutes, you're gonna die. It's almost the same as doing the Animal House drinking game.
I haven't had like a drinking night in a while, so it's like tolerance is a bit low.
No, what we need to do. Oh shit, Terry. Hey, I hope everything's okay. Good luck with that. Hopefully it turns out to be nothing too serious, okay?
Stay safe.
You have as good of a night as you can. All right. Thank you for stopping by. But what I think we should do, and I don't think we can broadcast this on YouTube, but like there has to be some way that we can watch Animal House and just like a group of us do the drinking game.
You can do that on Discord.
I don't know how, but I'm sure.
Yeah, all you gotta do is one person share screens and sound, and then you sit there and you do Animal House.
Okay.
Okay, so I've been looking up ages of people and when they started doing stuff. Like how old was Gene Wilder when he made Willy Wonka? How old was Patrick Stewart when he started Next Generation? Stuff like that. I've been like going through and trying to see, am I old yet? Like, when does that start? When are you old, officially old? Is it when Patrick Stewart started Next Generation? Or is it when Gene Wilder played Willy Wonka? When is old?
You see, for me, okay, so I am 35 right now.
You're a child.
Oh, Mel. My dear, my sweet summer child, I have arthritis.
I do too. I have rheumatoid arthritis in my knees, in my arms. It's terrible.
Ankles, knees, hips. all the way up my spine.
We're comparing scars now.
We are. And I mean, good Lord, arthritis is one hell of a scar to share.
It really is. It sucks.
Because I mean, like, I'll wake up and I'll just be like, everything.
What's
like
gonna hurt today? Let's pull the slot machine.
Yeah. What's gonna hurt the worst? I don't know. Let me sit up out of bed.
Oh, I stood weird.
Yeah.
My toe hurts now all day for some reason.
Oh man. I mean, like, just today, everything hurt. Like, usually the arthritis in my back and my knees are enough to hide the arthritis in my hips and my ankles, but no, all of it came out today.
And then if you
entire
throw
body
in
was like, no, fuck you, you're done.
then throw in mental illness, then you got like a good anxiety. My neck,
Depression,
my back,
anxiety,
my panic
traumatic
attack.
brain injury. Yeah, I have a TBI from actually shortly before I started my channel.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had a little bit of free time because of that. So I started my channel and yeah.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
If I wasn't on beta blockers and Zoloft, I was
Oh my God, like I'm on oh shit. What are those antidepressants that keep you from finishing in the fun way, if you know what I mean?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there's several. It depends. It can be different with each person.
But I'm on one of those, and like it's what's really weird, right? Like I don't mind so much the sexual dysfunction because that obviously you just live with it. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
if it's not an urge you have, it's not a need you have.
Mhm.
But what really messes with me is that I take the proper dose every morning. I'm on a 90 milligram daily dose.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if I don't forget it. I still feel lightheaded as though I did.
Mhm.
That just feels wrong.
I
And I
mean,
should probably
fair
talk to
enough.
my doctor.
It's always a pain. I think there's always trade-offs for everything.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, there's always trade-offs.
Yeah,
I don't know. Since I've been on these medications, I have like extremely vivid dreams, and they're not particularly disturbing. It's just
they're
really
messed up.
freaking vivid. Oh God, I
Yeah.
had a dream one night that there was a mall, and inside the mall there was a museum, and it had different floors, and it was kind of cool. And then they had like performers that would come out and reenact things, which is kind of neat. And so there was like a primate floor and an ape floor. And so there were like gorillas that were coming out and hanging out and stuff, but they would like the performers would use like these slides in the walls and slide through. So I tried to go into one. I'm like, well, maybe I can get to a different floor by climbing through this slide or something, you're like, Well, sure, why not?" And as I'm going through, the walls were mouths and teeth. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. I need to not be in this little slide tube thing because and I could feel the teeth. I could feel the heat from the breath. And I'm like, okay, this is weird.
So I'm actually kind of wondering like, because my dreams, most of my more vivid dreams are of like basic military training. I don't know if that's something specific to me or if it's something weirdly specific to people who have like really impactful events in their lives, because basic training is one of the more impactful things in me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, do you have anything like that that's even remotely similar that's happened to you, or?
Sometimes it's weird. I always have anytime I have a dream about an amusement park, like a section of my life, like a chapter is closing or a new chapter is opening, I visit the amusement park and there's like a new ride there. And sometimes the old rides are there from previous portions in my life where, something happened. Um, but it's weird. I don't know. I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I don't know why I watch movies. I should just go to sleep more. Like, but there's always recurring themes. So I have the recurring theme as well.
Yeah, like the majority of the dreams that I can recall that I have involve basic training. And I'm always me,
Mhm.
like as I am now. Like whatever the current age I am when I have these dreams, that's me.
Mhm.
But I'm in some weird form of basic training. Like, and obviously the older I get, obviously, um, from my perspective, the older I get, the more freedom I have in this basic training because I'm older. But
Do you lucid dream? Do you know when you're asleep? Like dreaming and stuff?
on the rarest occasions, I lucid dream. I don't actually know how to properly control lucid dreaming, but I'd like to.
I usually lucid dream. Now I found since I started like the Zoloft and beta blockers, it's harder to differentiate because my dreams have become more vivid. I already had pretty imaginative and fantastic type of dreams. Like, who the heck is Harry Potter? I don't need that. I just need to go to sleep. It's like I can fly. I can dream in machine guns. I s- I used to be better with the lucid dreaming because I also have sleep paralysis, and once I figured out that I have sleep paralysis and how to get through that, I can like dream in different things and I can control and get superpowers. I can call that in. But I don't know what it is with like the beta blockers and the Zoloft. It's like I don't lucid dream near as much as I used to. But they're not particularly disturbing. Sometimes they're kind of cool. So, like, this is a pretty cool dream, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm like with my dreams for the most part they don't bother me, but I mean, hang on. Aunt Jur has something to say. My dreams are always vivid, using all of the senses, and
Mhm.
also lucid dream every day. Okay.
I mean, I usually can lucid dream, and how I know if I'm asleep or not is if I can jump or like jump really far or fly. If I can
Yeah,
fly, I know I'm asleep because I
I'll
can
be right back.
always fly in my dreams. Oh, there we go. Now that he's gone. So sometimes I have really sexy dreams and they're awesome. If you have vivid dreams, all of the senses feeling heat and, sexy dreams are always interesting when you have that capability. Am I right, Andrew? Cheers, girl. You know,
Almost there.
had a dream about Orlando Bloom the other night. Did not disappoint. But, dreams.
All right. Sorry it took me so long. All I did was get myself a drink, but as we all know, Alex has many disabilities, so had to make sure they were okay. I like it when I dream about my mom. I know she's not actually visiting me, but the effect is the same. I feel like I've spent time with my mom. You know what? That's totally fair.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm not gonna begrudge you that, like, even a little. Like, I mean, I've taken so much for being an anti-theist recently, but I mean, like, like it's weirdly become kind of a pejorative, you know.
It's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, I blame the likes of Ocean Keltoy, but I never thought he was a great person anyway.
He unfollowed me on Twitter, Facebook, all of this stuff shortly after what happened on the Non Sequitur show with all of us. The last show I was on before I was like, I am never going to be on your show again. Oh, the time they hosted a pedophile white supremacist. I'm like, yeah, maybe don't do that. That's not really a good idea. And the
No.
reason being, you can be connected to that and people will misrepresent you if you use that. And I got dogpiled on. Ocean was one of the few people that were on my side. Same with Shannon Q. She was cool. But the rest of them, Jim Majors, all of them, Godless Engineer's wife, whatever her name is. I blocked her on Twitter. Caitlin. Oh, she was awful.
Really?
She's
She of all people was on the side of the pedophile?
she was like, light is the best disinfectant. And
No.
she's come after me on Twitter before, and I'm like, I ain't got time for you. She
I
doesn't
mean,
like, yeah. She just, yeah, we don't get along. And that's all right. We're not all meant.
I mean,
We're
like,
not all meant for that.
okay, there are times when I'm one of the light is the best disinfectant people, but when it comes to like Nazism and defending pedophiles, no.
I mean,
You
and at the time,
drown that shit in the bathtub.
I mean, Kyle Curtis was still part of the show, and there were people in the chat. There were rape jokes made about me later. I'm like, y'all, you cultivate your audience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
do.
don't have a giant channel, but I haven't really put a lot of effort into it because I have a job and other stuff. But you cultivate your audience. There were people that were sending super chats wanting to say ugly things about me. And so sometimes I would take like the ugly things people would say and I put it on merch. And then I would donate the proceeds to charity. Caitlin hated that. And she would talk ugly about that. I'm just like, look, if people are going to give me hate, I'm going to at least make it productive.
Yeah.
So, I'll put
I
the
mean, if you
terrible
can
things
take
they say
that,
about me on merchandise and donate it all to
if you can take those
charities.
merch purchases and be like, hey, I'm gonna send it to a fuck you charity.
It's like S.J. Thomason, all of her stuff, because she has said horrible stuff about me. All of her merchandise goes to Planned Parenthood. It's like, and I donate it.
Please tell me you put it in her name.
In her name.
Awesome.
So, I mean,
I
all of them, I do that because I'm like, oh, she makes merch. And I was like, yeah, but I don't make money off of it. If anything, sometimes I lose money, but I donate the money to charity. So whatever.
How's it going, Laura?
Hi there, how you doing? I'm doing well here. Just woke
Laura.
up actually. Hi. Haven't spoken to you for ages and ages.
Yeah, I know. What's going on?
To be honest, not a lot.
That's okay.
But my transition's coming on well. 9 months
Oh,
in now.
Good.
9 months.
HRT?
9 months of HRT.
Oh, have you
Okay,
noticed lots of
good.
differences?
Oh yeah. I mean, my skin is so soft now. It's quite amazing. I mean, if I raised my eyebrows, I used to get like 3 horizontal lines across my forehead. Now it's just a slight wrinkle above each eyebrow. Um, uh, but one of the best things is that my kind of, the dysphoria about myself has eased a lot. I'm coming to terms with who I am. So
That's
that's
awesome.
cool.
How
Yeah, I
cool
mean,
for you.
I take part in a sort of a live stream like this on a Friday morning into the afternoon with some Australian friends, and I've done it without makeup a lot of most of the time recently.
Hmm.
And before, I couldn't even look at myself without makeup, let alone be in front of other people.
I'm so proud of you. That's just awesome. And I'm so glad you get to be who you feel like you are. That's so important. I don't think people give enough credit to that. I was just having that conversation today with a friend of mine about how, you have people, and I used to teach high school. So there's like out here having your child who's trans or gay. I'm going, but if your child were to die by suicide or something like that because they couldn't be who they are around you, how could you possibly freaking live with yourself? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, a perfect example is, I mean, you've got your TERFs, you've got your gender critical, they like to call themselves now, but that just means transphobe. It would be
Yeah.
like, I suppose, synonymous with race realists.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, you're just a racist. That's what you actually mean. When you cut down to it, it's just racism. Well, gender
Yeah.
critical just means I don't subscribe to this thing that I don't like, so therefore I'm just going to hate it. It's bizarre, but I mean, it's kind of tough being trans right now.
Mhm.
They can't go after the gays anymore with the whole gay marriage thing, so they're going after the trans people instead.
And it's terrible. It really bothers me. It really bothers me because there's like literally 9,000 other things we could go and try to fix, and none of it has anything to do with gender identity.
Yeah,
I mean,
less than 1% of the population is a big problem apparently. It's really bizarre. And I mean, here in the UK, we've got the Equality Act, which means you can't be discriminated against for race or being gay or trans or whatever. But and we've got the Gender Recognition Act, which basically means that I can have my birth certificate changed. So if I die right now, I'd still be classed as a male. But and then you can get a gender recognition certificate, but it costs hundreds of pounds to get it changed, and you have to live as your new self for 2 years. Not a problem. But also that you've got to send evidence to a panel who you will never meet, who will make this massive decision about your life, which is just weird. And then, so in the UK, there's been a bit of a pickle about conversion therapy, otherwise known as torture.
God.
Okay. So the day before yesterday, so on the 31st, it was leaked that the government was going to be dropping their plans for banning conversion therapy. Yesterday, the 1st, it was announced, no, we are banning conversion therapy, except for trans people.
Oh God.
That's
And the reason is because
insane.
because there's loads of evidence to show that it's harmful for gay people. But there isn't evidence. Still waiting for the evidence about trans people.
Look at
So
the
let's go
United
ahead and
States. The United States has more than plenty of statistics to prove that this bullshit
Yeah.
of conversion therapy fucks with trans people as much as it does with gay people.
Well, the
It's
fact is,
harmful. It's torture. Period.
and most trans people are gay anyway. Most trans people are on the LGBT spectrum anyway.
yeah.
So it's
And Andrew has it totally right. Let's not call it therapy. From now on, it's conversion abuse.
yeah, that's quite right. It's nuts.
I'd go as far as to say torture.
Yeah. Well, what happened was when they announced that they were going to be banning conversion therapy, the religious bodies in the UK, the evangelical crowd, basically, they protested against it, saying, I don't mean like having protests. I just mean, we disagree with this. We think it's wrong, because they're worried that that they will be sidelined, and it's like, they will lose the ability to convince people that they're evil, and they should bend their ways, effectively. And it's like, what the hell's wrong with you? It's sickening, really. So what's happened is that the way that it sounds like it's going to go is that conversion therapy will be banned for children and people who have like mental disabilities, people who can't consent properly. But you can consent to be tortured, and harassed, and encouraged not to be LGBT.
I hate everything.
Hang on, I'm confused. Are you saying that the law is going to say that people under the age of like 13 can't be subjected to this torture? Or I
think it's under 16, so they can't consent to it. But if you're 20, let's say, and you're maybe you're a Christian, and you think you're gay or trans or whatever, you can go to your church and they can persuade you in multiple ways. Guilt trips. This is a sin. Let's stick some electrodes to you and zap you with electricity. ECT. You can consent to those things. Well, it's still coercion.
Yeah.
And there's people that wonder why I call religion poison.
Yeah. So it's quite sickening. Then we've got the EHRC, which is the Equalities and Human Rights Commission, which is it's a non-government. It writes policy for what they think the government should do on various things, and so the current Home Secretary. The current Liz Truss. She used to be the Equalities Minister, and now she's the Foreign Secretary, I think it is. Yeah, Foreign Secretary. She appointed a transphobe to the head of this group.
Jake Rowling.
Yeah. No. It's Faulkner, her name is. And she's had meeting with the transphobe groups, so the LGB Alliance. The LGB Alliance is an anti-trans hate group.
No doubt.
Yeah. They like to say that they're pro-LGB, but they're not. I'll give you an example. So, is it 4? No. There we go. Okay. I'm screen sharing something. So I did a little bit of a look at their a month of their activity. So if we ignore the 30 self-promotional ones, because every group promotes themselves, okay? So they had 23 anti-trans tweets of their own. They retweeted 12 other anti-trans groups, or J.K. Rowling or whatever, and they did 5 pro-LGB, because they like to claim that they're pro-lesbian, gay, and bi, which I think is just plausible deniability, But yeah, they 5 was the number of pro-LGB things. It didn't have anything to do with trans people. And they retweeted none in a month. Now, if we go back a year before, by the way, this is a year before they became a charity. This was
loosely termed, right?
Yeah, this was 2 weeks from the year before, and they had 100 anti-trans tweets of their own, 4 retweets, 3 pro-LGBT LGBT tweets. I mean, this shows you exactly who they are. So that was,
This isn't going to be enough to completely fill it. I didn't
know. Another one is there was this.
I need to know if it's too hot or too cold.
So last year at Manchester Pride. So it was the Pride weekend, not Pride itself. The Pride weekend.
I did. Too, so it wasn't as bad.
And
here.
There we go. So this guy turned up at there was a Pride protest. So what happens is Manchester Pride has been turned from a it's gradually became a pop concert with these big name artists, and as a result of all the money that they had to give those artists, it meant that they were only giving 3% of their spending to the charities, which was the whole point. An example is the LGBT Foundation, who and one of the things that they do in this sort of Pride month is they give out loads and loads of condoms for free, because it started with the HIV crisis of the sort of 80s. Because the last thing you want people doing is having HIV, or maybe even not knowing they've got HIV, spreading it around. So anyway, so what happens is this protest was to say Pride not profit, basically. So this guy turned up here wearing LGBT Alliance clothing. Okay. I mean, he might have, to imagine turning up to a Black Lives Matter protest wearing Ku Klux Klan clothes. That would be akin to what
Black Lives Matter, Nazi.
Yeah. So everybody knows that this group is anti-trans. So what happens is he turns up at the start of it, and I ended up chatting to him for about 10 minutes, describing that LGBT Alliance are an anti-trans hate group, and countering all the claims he was saying. And then when I came back, that's how I ended up making that picture I showed you, where I showed the tweets and retweets and so on. So what happens is he turns up, and then this is at the end of the march when people are still sort of milling around where it ended, and so he so he's chatting with these this person on the right with the orange hair thing. They're non-binary, which is what that flag is, by the way, and the other guy's a gay guy. So they're talking away, whatever, and it's, no one's being horrible or nasty to him. They're just saying, I disagree with you in strongly worded terms. But no one's like punching him or harassing him or whatever, Well,
Yeah, that's
what happens next is that some gay guy basically comes up behind him and nicks his hat, and then sort of runs into the crowd and sort of waves it and mocking him with it, and he's like, come on, give it back, kind of thing. And so, well, next thing you know, the crowd start chanting. I don't know if you'll hear this. Oh, that's me. Wait a minute. Which one is it? It's that one. Should have been that one.
Trans lives matter! 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 Trans lives matter!
So he decides to leave. So, and then he's assisted by the police. Let's just get you out of the way, kind of thing. So he went on sort of an equivalent of Fox News evening, saying how he was terrified and that he thought he was going to be ripped apart or torn apart. And then, and also says that he was kicked out of Pride for being gay, which wasn't true at all, because most people, including the person he was talking to,
were gay.
Yeah, were gay. I mean, because it was mostly gay people, and some were trans. It was the so it was he was just lying, basically.
Yeah, no. If you want a weirdo at Pride, it's me.
Well,
I am the Pride weirdo because I'm a cis-het white dude.
Right. But the thing is, there was a actually, I'll go into this in a minute, but LGBT people need allies.
Yeah.
It's only in mass numbers that rights get get enabled, get expanded. Anyway, so to tell you more about this guy that turned up. So last Thursday, there was a meeting of like a little conference in Manchester by another anti-trans hate group called Women's Place. And to give you an example, out of, I think it was 8 speakers, 6 or 7 of them have Twitter channels, or whatever you want to call it, and all of the ones that have channels are anti-trans. But we're talking about women's places, and because trans women shouldn't be allowed in ladies' bathrooms because they might molest people. But in 60 years, the number of people that this has happened, the number of trans people that have done this kind of thing has been 4 in 60 years. But anyway, so I was there, and so there was just a noisy protest outside, basically. Trans lives matter, turfs off our turf, etc., etc. Well, next thing you know, I see a face in the crowd, and it's that guy, this Alex Braham guy. And it's like, what the hell? So he turns up, and it's like, what is he trying to do? What is he trying to get accomplished? My personal belief is that he is trying to become a professional victim. He turned up at the Pride March last year, and he was chased off, basically by people who actually think trans lives matter. He left himself. Remember, he left himself. No one. It wasn't kicked out or anything. He left himself. I missed an amusing little bit when he went on that GB News, which is like Fox News. Hate immigrants. Etc. Don't like woke stuff. So he went, as well as going on there and said he was going to be scared, he was terrified, and he thought he was going to be torn apart. He also said that he was really traumatized by having his hat removed because he's balding and he's really sensitive about that. You know, I mean, smile. You got to smile at that because you know it just comes across as crazy. Maybe if you didn't wear a beanie with LGB Alliance on it, maybe that would, I don't know. Do you want to just make us all the screen because I can see other people that way? It's weird looking at my own.
Sorry. Okay, so do you mind real quick if I interrupt?
Sure. Sorry, I kind of when I get on the
no. You absolutely had a right to monopolize my channel, and I gladly gave it to you. So it was actually in my city's inaugural Pride, which I attended, and I'm proud to have attended, and I'm so fucking thrilled that it actually happened. Were it not for a traumatic brain injury that caused severe generalized anxiety, I would have absolutely intervened. Like there was this group of bigots that was talking to I don't know, it looked like a 13-year-old boy, like a child.
Mm-hmm.
But this kid, he was holding his own. He didn't need me. Let's put it this way. But man, would I have loved to fuck these people up? But
the thing is, the way you fuck these people up is with good arguments, and you know, and just perseverance. But also recognize. I mean, for example, the other day was the 31st. That was the Trans Day of Visibility.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I've said this about Twitter a number of times, that so I'm a cyclist, and one group that really hates cyclists in the UK are black taxi cab drivers. Now, I'm not saying the guys are black, I'm saying that the taxi cabs are black. It's a thing. If you've ever seen pictures of London, you'll see black cabs and red buses. Those are synonymous with London. And we get them all over the country as well. They have them where I live in Manchester. So, you know, well, they hate cyclists. You know, now they don't care, and this applies to the transphobes and the racists and the sexists. They don't care about what is true. They only care about what they want to be true. You could say that about young Earth creationists as well. You know, there are lots of people who don't care about what is true. They only care about what they want to be true. You know, 9/11 truthers. I watch one spin themselves in circles in order to justify something that they wanted to, you know, an assertion they wanted to make. And when I pointed out that this was flawed, they changed it to something else. It was really entertaining, actually. It's one of my favorite 9/11 truther conspiracies, which makes no sense. But anyway, if I go on to that, I'll get sidetracked, and I have a habit of doing that. But, you know, so because it was Trans Day of Visibility, the transphobes were really, really active. So, like, for example, there was an MP from the House of Commons, and she was saying, you know, support for trans people. And underneath, you've got the transphobes saying, how dare you support these people, you know, women's spaces, and, you know, women in sport, trans women in sports, stuff like that, you know. And, you know, well, you know, I could spend all day arguing with transphobes, but what would be the point? Because they don't care.
No, they don't.
Care. They're not going to change their position because they're embedded in a belief that they, you know, want to be true. So they will
Well, I
do.
mean, like in the Olympics, a trans woman won the swimming competition, which, I mean, cool. No one's cared since Michael Phelps. But I mean, it's the first trans one, and I'd like to mention, by the way, no one seems to give the first blank bucket about trans men.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah, they never do.
But the amount of vitriol I saw towards, I don't know her name because I suck with names. But like she won the gold medal after what, 5 attempts of not reaching the top 10
Mm.
in the last decade of her attempts at being an Olympic athlete, which, by the way, is impressive enough in itself.
Was she an Olympic athlete, or are you talking about the new one, Leah Thomas, first trans woman to win the NCAA swimming title?
I could be, but either way, I'm thinking about someone that has been trying for 10 years.
Okay, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, there's someone. I'm probably not correct about the 10 years, but ballpark that.
Okay, has this been in the last few weeks?
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be Leah Thomas.
Okay.
The
She's
transphobes have gone
tried
mental
for more
about it.
than 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got under the requirement. The requirement is you're not allowed to have a certain, testosterone level. And so she dropped below that, and, and she won something.
Yeah.
By the history of trans people in sports, they barely win anything.
Yeah.
And, trans women in sport, not just transgender people, trans women, it's rare for them to win anything. But
yeah, and I love the misogyny that's involved. It's like, oh, women can't compete with men.
Yeah,
I just want. I'm so sorry, but I want to bring up my training to be a cop in the military. When we were doing our pre-deployment training, there were so many women in my team that I had no chance of keeping up with. No chance. I mean, there was a woman who was. Let me look this up. I don't know how many. Laura, Mel, are either of you familiar with M240 Bravo?
No. I have to run soon. I got to go to bed. I've been up for a while.
That's fair. So
it was great talking with you guys.
Yes, you too.
Oh yeah.
Bye. See you later.
Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Take care.
But it's this gun. Wow, I forgot to share my screen. Hang on. Sorry. There we go. Okay. That thing is about 40 pounds. Loaded, I should say.
Right.
I had a woman who was half my weight outrun me with that. And I was only carrying an M4, which is considerably smaller. And people think women can't compete with men. I can't compete with her.
Yeah. Yeah, there are loads of women that would be able to outperform me. The thing is, this whole trans women in sports thing, it is mainly used. It isn't really about concern for anybody else. Is generally used as how can we, it is generally transphobia disguised under the guise of fairness.
Yeah.
That's what
because women are weaker than men, didn't you know?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that you get the transphobes, particularly in the UK, is they sell T-shirts with the definition of woman, which is adult human female. And then when you look at female, it's basically can make babies. So really, when it comes down to it, the way they define themselves is, adult human baby making machines, which unravels everything about feminism. They're narrowing the definition to the point that, that's all it's about.
Walking walking egg incubators.
Yeah.
/ standing in front of the stove.
Yeah, and then the next argument will be, only women can make babies. Trans women can't make babies, so therefore they're not real women. And of course, well, not all women can get pregnant. They're sterile, have some genetic problem or whatever.
Not to mention the ageism argument. I mean, there is so much going against this narrow view of what a woman is.
Yeah. And then the next stage is they go into chromosomes, XY, XX chromosomes, and gametes. Men have XY chromosomes, women have XX, so therefore, trans women aren't women.
Yeah, I have nothing. However, my fiance Alex has a video about how even sex isn't dimorphic.
Oh yeah, I've been. Joe, it really is bizarre to me, because if we look at gender presentation. So we're going into spectrums now. So on the women gender spectrum, you've got everything from really girly to what do you call it? Boy something.
Hypermasculine?
No, tomboy.
Tomboy.
Everything from really feminine to tomboy. And women can be anywhere on that spectrum. When it comes to sexual preference, you've got everything from gay to straight, and in the middle you've got bi. And bi can be that maybe they'll sleep with guys but they prefer women, or they sleep with women but they prefer guys. So it's well, why is it both of those is perfectly acceptable, but when it comes to gender, somehow it's black and white, man or woman, and that's it.
Well, I mean, it's funny because there are several points in my adolescence that it could very easily, safely, and possibly correctly argued from a stereotypical perspective that my sister, who identifies as a woman, was more manly than me.
Yeah. The only thing effectively the only thing you've got on there is that you can grow a big beard.
I do love my beard, and I would love it to be bigger. But I mean, I don't know, the idea of this direct split in the middle, it's nonsensical to me. And any other thinking person, let's be honest.
Yeah. The good news is that things are changing and things are going to change. Because, when you look at the political situation, okay, so the politicians, generally they're grandparents. They're people who are older than I am, and I'm nearly 50. But, my parents, grandparents' age, they they were more discriminate. My parents' age, less discriminate, but less bigoted. My generation, less bigoted than my parents' generation. The millennials, less bigoted than my generation. The Zoomers less bigoted than than the millennials. So gradually over time, transphobia, racism, xenophobia, etc., these things should weed themselves out. They will gradually decline because people will be seen for who they are, not for what's between their legs. Because the thing about it is, I'm not defined by what's between my legs.
Yeah.
And to be honest, most people aren't.
Well, I mean, so here's the big question, and what I think is the question that's going to be discussed generationally many, many years into the future. I've been drinking and I kind of forgot.
I was talking about how the new generations are less, bigoted than the previous ones.
Probably. Oh no, I think I got it. The question ultimately will become, because people like me judge like Neanderthals, like, oh yeah, you're all fucked up. It'll become how many thousands of young trans lives were lost because they didn't have not the nomenclature but the vocabulary to describe themselves. I mean, it's not an easy question, for the current situation, but I mean, like, there are so many kids that almost definitely will unalive themselves. Let's keep this YouTube appropriate so the discussion can actually move forward. How many of these trans kids, how many of these non-binary kids, trans non-binary, are gonna be like, I just can't go on because I face so much hate?
Yeah, well, I mean, that is a problem in itself. Also, trans people being murdered is
Yeah.
Last year it was it was more than one a week for the US. More than one a week, and especially black trans women. Trans women of color are much more likely to be murdered.
This was a couple of days ago. Alex asked me to guess how many trans women, not including trans non-binary, trans men, any other kind of in between genderqueer, intersex people, just outright trans women have killed themselves. I flippantly guessed 50.
Right.
I was off by 5.
Yeah.
In the United States, it was 55.
Yeah.
Trans women had killed themselves.
One of the things the transphobes like to do is celebrate a weird detransitional awareness day. And the thing is, the number of detransitioners is tiny. It's like 0.1% of all the trans people, who make up 1% roughly anyway. It's just under 1%. Now, what's comical about it, and when I say comical, I'm kind of being cynical in this regard, is that most of the people who detransition, the trans people who detransition, they do so because of assholes. It's like, you know what, I can't live being discriminated against all the time, so I'm going to go back to living as what my birth certificate says. And then what happens is 8-10 years later, they come out and they transition again. They retransition, I suppose you could say, because, it's like, I think I can do it now. So it's not like they detransitioned because they didn't want detransitioned because they didn't want to, they realized they'd made a mistake, or, they weren't what they believed they were. No, it's because people treated them like shit, and therefore, they had to go back to stealth. Just here's my principle of how I deal with transphobes, okay, or anybody who discriminates against me, whether it's people looking at me weird on the street or people saying horrible things on Twitter, okay? And it really comes down to a simple thing. Do they put clothes on my back? Do they put food in my stomach, or do they put a roof over my head? And if the answer is no, fuck them. Excuse my language. But it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. That's, that's it. I live on my own, got my own flat. I can wear what I want when I want. And, and it's none of their business how I live my life.
Accurate.
Yeah, and the thing is, this would apply to someone who's gay, or any other thing, because this is the important thing to realize. You've got young trans people. The house prices have increased so much that it's hard to get on the property ladder. In America, you can be kicked out of your home because you're trans or gay or an atheist or whatever. So, those are, so if you've got a young person, let's say they're 20 and they're still living at home because they can't get, find a place for themselves or can't afford a place for themselves, they've still got to live at home. Well, if they live at home and their parents are transphobic, what have they got to do? They've got to wait. I left it. The short version for me is I realized when I was about 8 that I was different, that I wished I was gay, something. And so, but I left it until I was 25. I didn't even know what trans people were, because in the UK they have this thing called Section 28 of the Education Reform Act or something. No, or was it Local Government Act? So what happened back then is that your local governments, so like the towns and districts where you live, kind of thing in American terminology. So they were responsible for the schools in that area. So local education authority it was called. So the government acting, this is Margaret Thatcher's government, in 1988, they were basically the whiplash effect of the HIV/AIDS crisis of the early mid 80s. Their response to that was to ban any discussion from school teachers or any promotion from councils about LGBT stuff. Don't say gay, basically.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds like Florida.
Yeah. That's basically, it's just recycled, British law almost.
I want to say that again right now. I'm sorry, Laura, but for my American viewers, Florida is how many years behind the UK on Don't Say Gay?
Yeah.
And the UK got it wrong back then.
Mm-hmm.
So guess how much wronger Florida is. I'm sorry to interrupt, please.
No, that's fine. I mean, effectively, it's exactly the same mentality. They are scared that, they have this weird idea. If you teach children that LGBT people, exist, then they might become LGBT because they learned what it was. As if, you just decide to be gay or trans or whatever.
I totally decided to be a cishet white dude. It was a personal decision that I made. I decided to be the way that I am, and wait, that's not accurate.
No.
It's who you are. Stop trying to fight it. And I'm talking about the external people, not the people who are experiencing it. Lady Gaga got it right.
Hmm.
Lady Gaga got it right. Born this way.
Yeah. So, well, what happened was it wasn't until I was 25. Sorry, 1988 was 1989 is when sex education comes into schooling. So it was passed in 1988. So I didn't know what transgender people were until I was 25, because my reference point for transgender people was something like a prostitute on a Dirty Harry movie, or Rocky Horror Picture Show, or a drag queen, and that wasn't me at all. So I didn't have any language to use. I didn't understand what the hell it was, what was wrong with me, effectively. You know, that
Well, I mean, like, even with, I'm sorry to interrupt, but even with Stonewall in the 70s, I think it was, trans people were still called transvestites, the cross-dressers.
Yeah. Yeah. And you only became a transsexual if you had surgery. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't have any language. I didn't understand what it was, and it was only when I got on the internet and I discovered what trans people were. It's like, oh, that's what I am. But I couldn't live it. In my, I learned what I was, and my identity for myself kind of, started to merge and become more solid. This part of me that I was really uncomfortable about, and I wanted to sweep it under the carpet, but you could feel the lumps under the rug, kind of thing. I mean, just to give you an idea, so I would be sat on my sofa watching a movie or whatever, wearing a nice frock or something, and I just get this wave of shame wash over me, as if to say, what on earth are you doing? And I had to get changed. And that was it, time over. The worst one, the most visceral one, was the paranoia about what I was doing was wrong. So what happened was, I lived next to a main road, and there was a police car chase. So, bad guy, 3-4 police cars behind it, and the police helicopter flew right over my building, and I had to go and get changed, because I was scared that 5 minutes later I'd have a police officer knocking on my door saying, why are you wearing a dress? That's how crippled I was by this paranoia about what I was doing was wrong somehow. And so, but like I say, it was only when I got on the internet I discovered who I was. But I couldn't live it, because I was paralyzed by, what will my mum think? What will neighbors, what will friends and colleagues and family and strangers on the street think? And so as a result, I hid it. I just dressed up at home, and I went to a couple of private gatherings a year, and that was it. So it was it was really, really hard, sort of figuring out who I was, learning who I was, but not being able to express it. And what happened was, someone in the community, died. Jade died, and it kind of woke me up as, life is short. Why am I letting all these other people, control my happiness because I'm worried about what they might think? And so now I don't. I mean, the thing it has cost me is my, some of my family, my mum and my brother don't talk to me anymore. My mum disowned me, and my brother said that he couldn't have anything to do with me because he didn't want to get between me and my mum. And it's like, I don't want you to get between me and mum. I just want my brother. And, and he just insisted that he didn't want to. And so, it's like, basically he'd taken her side. And I didn't need him to take any sides. But, so it's, that part's been tough. I mean, it was Mother's Day this weekend, or last weekend, sorry. And then the 31st was when my mum disowned me. So that kind of plagued my thoughts all day. But I kind of ironically, I dismissed it because by getting myself 2 large bouquets of flowers, and the comedy part of it is that the flowers were ones that were left from Mother's Day. So they had these big bouquets of flowers that cost £10, and I could get them for £2.50 each. So I spent £5 and bought 2 massive bouquets of flowers, just so that I could, But I'm doing so much better now. I'm more in control of who I am. My identity is much more solid now than it used to be. The only thing I'm not happy about really is my voice. I don't seem to be able. I struggle to change my voice. I've got a softer version than what I had before, but I still sound like a guy, and that kind of it's a weird duality though, because whenever I practice, my head goes, but that doesn't sound like me. I'm changing of who I am. You know when you get pop stars or whatever, and they reinvent themselves. I'm doing that, but the problem is that when I do my talking, I should be changing the voice as well, but I'm sort of held back by but that's my voice. That's who I am. That's how I sound to myself.
I don't get that, but I mean, I'm not going to ask for specifics. You're in your 50s-ish, 40s, 50s. I mean, this is the voice you've grown into. It's, there is absolutely nothing wrong with, there's nothing wrong with what you're saying. There's nothing wrong with what you feel there should be. It's just a dichotomy, I think, of where you'd like your voice to be and where your voice is, what you've grown accustomed to. And you know what, Laura, there's nothing to be ashamed of.
I'm not ashamed of it. I'm just I think it's like it's a bit like cleaning out the garage, I suppose you could say. I know I need to do it. I know I should do it, but it's like it's such a big.
Don't want to let go of.
Yeah, it's a big job, and it's going to take ages, and and I just can't put the time in to do it, kind of thing. I other stuff I'd rather be doing. So, but the thing is, I'm starting to think to myself, wait a minute, why do I have to clean out the garage?
Yeah.
Why do I have to change my voice? I mean, I've changed my voice a little bit. I've got a softer version of what I had before. So I'm going to try and do the old voice. It's hard because I've been doing this new one for such a long time that it's hard to go back. So if I can get it higher and it'd be harder to go back, that'd be even better still.
I mean, okay, so
this is what I used to sound like. I used to sound, it was deeper and harder and stronger. And so now I've just got a softer version of it. That's basically it.
Can I just ask you this? If it's going to cause dysphoria, please don't.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean,
I know how badly dysphoria hurts Alex, and I just don't want you to put yourself through that.
Yeah, no. I if I didn't want to do it, I wouldn't have done it, and I maybe even wouldn't have even brought it up.
Okay.
So I'm actually quite open with who I am.
Okay.
As I said, I lived with it all suppressed for so long. It now bursts out all the time. So,
okay.
Yeah. I've got a fun little thing for you. So, I have Asperger's ASD. Is a new term for it, but so one of the things, effectively, Aspies don't do so great with with people. And I liken it to, juggling. That juggling takes a lot of effort and thinking to do, and it's and the more people there are, the more balls there are to juggle. And the juggling element is that you've got to figure out who they are, what they want, what their motivation is, to be able to, so you don't say something or do something that they find offensive or whatever. I created a really good coping strategy with how to deal with negative shit. And so I'll tell you the bad stuff, and then I'll tell you the good stuff, or my coping strategy, how to deal with it. So there are layers of, I suppose you could say, discrimination. First of all, you've got the benign stuff, the stuff that people don't even realize that they do it. So what happens is, if you're walking through a mall or a train station or a busy place, you've got people moving left and right in front of you. And so what happens is you constantly look at people in the face. You just take these quick snapshot looks because you're basically figuring out where they're going. So what happens, and where they're looking is generally where they're going. So that's why we do it. So when I'll get someone who looks at me, and they then end up doing a double take because it's like something didn't look right there, and so they do a second look, and that's when they get the knowing nod or the goofy grin. Oh, that's why she's so tall. Then you've got like a couple of lads, one nudges the other and sort of points, look, or a crowd of people that go by, and you hear, 4 people or whatever, and then you'll hear, did you see that, or did you see them, and then you get laughter. You still there? I have a feeling it might have gone to the toilet or something.
I'm still here. I'm just trying to not interrupt you.
Oh, right. Okay. It's just your camera's off, so I couldn't tell if you were...
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right. Anyway, so the worst one I've had was I was walking through the market area where I live, and I ended up with a sort of a, trailer trash would probably be the best analogy, but a Chav family walked by, and one of the women, she points at me, sort of with the sort of wrist up. She points at me, oh, there's another she, he, loudly as I go by. And when I turn my head, with the sort of really face, that's when their little kid, who was about 5 or something, screams at the top of their lungs, "You're a man," pointing at me. That's the thing that has to change. That teaching of discrimination. So that's the kind of negative stuff. And almost every time I go out, I wonder, is today the day that I'm going to be assaulted?
You see, here's what I don't get. This was way, way back in the 90s. I'd say way, way back, but my sister was probably about 5. Admittedly, she was extraordinarily young and ignorant because it was, she was 5. But she described a black man that she saw as a monkey. Now, as terrible as everyone out there, including myself, will say that is, she was also 5, and my mother immediately corrected her.
Yeah.
And my sister learned from it.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, my sister has never used the word monkey to refer to another human being again.
Yeah.
It's never happened in 30 years. You know, yeah.
Yeah, so I gave you the negative stuff. So now I'm going to give you my coping strategy with how to deal with it.
Mhm.
So what happened was I basically created a points-based system. Now, bear in mind that this is a conceptual thing. I'm not literally counting counting points like calories or something. It's just how to deal with it in a mental state. So what happened was I created this points-based system. So an example is I'm walking down the street, someone's walking the other way. She looks at me, I smile, she smiles back. There's a point. I go to one of the cosmetic counters, for makeup in like Boots or something. And one of the women there say, "Oh, your eye makeup's looking nice today." Well, they're experts. There's a couple hundred points. My friend Jackie in the US, she's like a puppy. You just want to squeeze her and hug her because she's just one of those wonderful, wonderful people. So I post a picture. "Oh, Laura, you look stunning today." Well, that's like, 500 points of gush right there. And then my best one has been my bank. One of the cashier ladies, I noticed she'd started calling me Laura. She never used to use my guy name when I'd go and, go in there. And so I realized she was trying to make me feel comfortable. So I said, "Thanks very much for that. I appreciate it." She went, "Oh, you're quite welcome, dear. You're looking nice today." I said, "Oh, I'm not too bad at clothes and makeup." And she said, No. You look beautiful. You tell a man he's handsome. You tell a woman she's beautiful. To tell a trans woman she's beautiful, that means a lot. So that was like 1,000 points that day. So if you can imagine, I've got 8,000 points of positive energy, and I get there's another she, he, makes me feel crappy for a few moments. I might lose a couple hundred points because I feel crappy, but I can take an objective step back and say, yeah, but look, you got 7,800 points of positive energy. The world is nicer than it is bad, and that's how I deal with it. Because otherwise I would drown myself in misery of other people's making.
Yeah.
And I'm not prepared to do that. So effectively, I have pulled the plug out to stop me from drowning, as it were. So that's my rationale behind it. That's how I cope with it. Because I can't control what other people say and do, but I can control what I feel about it. And it's okay to be outraged at stuff, but it's also okay to say, who cares? I mean, do you remember the Back to the Future 3?
Mm-hmm.
So there's the bit where where Marty is in the Wild West, and you've got the Biff Tannen or Mad Dog Tannen outside ready for the shooting, thing, the high noon shootout, but not high noon. So it's like, if you don't go out there, everyone will say you, Clint Eastwood, because that was the name he was using, is a coward. And he suddenly just dawns on him because, of course, everyone was saying, "What are you, chicken?" kind of thing, and he would do stupid stuff and get himself into his own, problems, effectively. And it's like, I don't care what he thinks. I don't care what anybody thinks. And that's the mental attitude I have to have. Because, like I say, I'm not going to, I don't care what transphobes think. I mean, the only ones that I care about are the ones that are in political power and might restrict my freedoms. Those are the only ones I need to fear. The average ones on the street, I mean, I suppose maybe people might assault me, but, the ones on the street, they're just arseholes. Doesn't say anything about me. If they call me names and, call me a man or something, that doesn't say anything about me. It only tells you something about them. So, and the thing about it is, sometimes I get hilarity out of some of them. I mean, like, for example, are you familiar with someone on the interwebs called Jesus is Lord? Jill, as he's otherwise known as?
If we're talking about someone on Twitter, I think yes.
I don't think he's on.
But-
I'm not sure. He's on YouTube, and he'll go into hangouts like these or whatever. So I find him an amusing character because he is able to believe two opposite things and think they're the same, which I think takes a spectacular amount of self-deception. For example, he said he was in favor of free trade capitalism, but also in favor of Donald Trump's trade tariffs. And despite me showing him the definition of free trade, and underneath it says trade with no tariffs, he just like, no, and he tried to bullshit his way out of it because he's an idiot.
Mhm.
Now, when he might have reasonable arguments for why trade tariffs are good or whatever, but he can't say that he's in favor of free trade capitalism. Then, he can't take it as a strong position when he's got such a, where he's using it interchangeably. Well, so one of the things that this guy does, he blocked all the women because, women should be seen and not heard because he's a religious guy, women shouldn't preach. So women should be seen and not heard. And so he blocks all the women. So A, he can't see what they say, or I'll see their responses, and B, he can't be mean to them because he's not supposed to be mean to women. Well, when I came out as trans, his response to me was, "You're a man. You will always be a man, and I will only ever treat you like a man." And then he went and blocked me, like he blocks all the slow clap made me laugh. I get to tell this all the time.
Oh. That deserves the slowest of claps. I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus.
And like I say, it just, it doesn't say anything about me. It just tells you everything you need to know about them. It's, like I say, I find it hilarious.
I love strong women. They're pretty much the only women I allow in my life, and like the amount of power that my mother and sister hold over me, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, the other part of it is respect. And that's the part that goes completely ignored by these transphobes and misogynists. I respect my mother. I love my mother. I respect my sister, and I love my sister. And it's not hard, but they like to make believe it is because, well, they have to make believe their pee-pee's hard too.
Yeah. Guys tend to be more transphobic than women. And the reason for it is because they put themselves in the situation of, transgender people, they want to have their penises removed, and I wouldn't like that because, that's really important to me, and so therefore that's bad. So therefore trans people are bad. It's a really, low level of thinking.
Oh, it's the lowest levels of thinking, but I mean, like, the way I look at it, like in movies or TV shows or YouTube videos, because let's face it, we have to bring it down to that. If someone gets kicked in the nuts, yeah, I'm gonna feel it. It doesn't matter if they're a man with a set of balls or a woman with a set of balls. That's gonna hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna feel it sympathetically because I know what it feels like to get in the balls. But
I use a little
get in the balls. I think is it's still a woman getting hit in the balls. Yeah.
I've recycled a little quote from Star Trek Voyager, the Doctor, and he's basically saying, "I'm a hologram, so you can't hurt me," you know. But so my own sort of version of it is, you know, so I get people on the internet saying horrible and hateful and mean things to me, and it's like they can't do anything to me, you know. And the principle is simply, this is the internet. Sticks and stones won't break my bones. You can imagine how I feel about being called names by some random person on the internet. You know, they can't do anything to me. As much as you might see the hate in their heart, in real life, they probably won't be like that. And this is one of the things that the internet is terrible for, in a way, is because, you know, if I, you know, it's very easy to other people.
Yeah.
So if someone's a Christian, oh, well, atheists, they're just awful, horrible people because they don't believe in my God thing. You know, they're the other. And only people in my group are the ones that matter. So people then, because they've othered them, it's so much easier to discriminate against them. You know, this is something we saw with the whole Nazism thing. There's something called increased radicalization. So when it came to the Jews, at first it's like, okay, these are horrible people, so we're going to boycott their shops. Then they went and made ghettos and put them in it. Then they went and made camps and put them in it, and then they gassed them to, you know, because they wanted to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't enough to get rid of them out of society. They needed to kill them all now. And it's that gradual changing, you know, well, like I say, unlike the Holocaust and stuff like that, people can't do anything to me through the internet. Because one thing that I can do, and this is something I suggest other people do, if, you know, if they feel they need to, take a break. If you feel that social media is getting you down, take a break. Do something else with your time for a while. You know, there's no there is no crime in, you know, taking a bit of self-reflection time and going off and just, you know, taking time away from it. And as I've
for 5 or 6 months, and I'll sit that white dude.
Yeah, but you know, as I said earlier, if I want to get into it, you know, I could go on Twitter and get in stupid embedded arguments with transphobes or cab drivers or whatever, who don't care about what's true. They only care about what they want to be true. Well, I mean, yeah, I could spoil my day by doing that, or I could focus on the nice people who are on Twitter. You know, because there are loads of nice people. The trans community on Twitter is very, very supportive. You know, so yeah, I can ignore the idiots who I post a picture and it's like, oh, you look so cute, that's a great outfit or whatever, and then I get some trans, oh, you're a man. Well, you know, doesn't matter. I can always block them or report it, or you know, just like mute them. So yeah, I don't care what they think. You know, I spent 19 years pretending, caring about what they thought. Now I don't.
Yeah, I mean, earlier I saw it was this woman who was like just at the beginning of her transition. She got her first HRT, and I was like, you know what? Do you? You have no idea how happy I am for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely continue HRT. Absolutely continue that transition, the journey you're on, because damn, your happiness is king or queen in her case.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as you know, it was actually really hard watching Twitter sometimes, because so in the UK it takes a long time to get HRT. I think the difference is, in America you're a customer, in the UK you're a patient, and so as a result, in America you get what you pay for, so to speak. So you can go into your doctors and say, "I think I'm trans." You talk to them for a bit, or tell them I'm trans, and they could quite easily on that day prescribe you hormones if you want, because you're a grown up and you can make decisions about yourself, including taking hormones. What you'd probably be more interested in doing is making sure that you know the risks involved. So, for example, I have a higher chance of blood clots. So deep vein thrombosis, all sorts of other bits and bobs. But anyway, the now in the UK, the waiting list is obscenely long. I was originally assigned to Leeds, and if I was still with Leeds, so this December 2018 is when I went to my doctor and asked him to refer me to a gender identity clinic. And the clinics are a big problem because back in the day, being transgendered was considered to be a mental illness or a mental disorder. And the UK NHS system is brilliant in most respects, but two places they fail really badly on is trans care and mental health. And I think the reason why trans care is so bad is because it's linked, although they don't think of it as a mental illness, mental disorder anymore, the system that they use to, guide people is based upon, a strategy that was put in when it was still considered a mental disorder. So it's effectively it's limited by legacy systems. In December 2018 is where I went to my doctor and asked him to refer me. Got a letter, from Leeds. And then in February, I have the screening call, which is where they phone you up and chat out for a little while about what you need, what you think, and so on. And it's a nurse I was talking to. And it's, and the reason why they do it is because there's so little amount of funding available. I mean, just to give you an example, Leeds, before COVID, I don't know what it's like now, before COVID, they were getting, they had a budget for 27 people a month, but they were getting over 100 referrals a month. So if you can imagine, if we imagine it from a COVID sense, imagine you've got a store and you can only get 27 people through the store an hour because of social distancing and stuff like that. And you've got more than 100 people joining the queue an hour. Imagine what that's going to be like at the end of the day. Change that to months, and you'll see how it's a constantly expanding waiting list. So I had my screening call in February of 2019, and that's when they weed out the time wasters. And when that's not really a fair way to describe it. It's basically people who aren't really sure yet. And so what they'll do is, okay, right, our resources are limited. So what we'll do is we'll send you some information, have a think about it, and if you still want to be referred, then go to your doctor and ask them to reapply. And it's just so that, like I say, they haven't got the resources for someone who just isn't sure and they're still on the fence kind of thing. They need people who are sure, really. It was roughly 3 years to get your first assessment, and then about another year to get your second assessment. And usually on the second one, that's when they do a diagnosis. Yep, you got gender dysphoria, or in my case, gender incongruence, and therefore you can have hormones. And then you've got to do all the blood tests and stuff with the endocrinologist, which will take another 8 months roughly, in order for you to get hormones. So you're talking 4.5 years to get hormones. So that would mean that I wouldn't start, if I was still with Leeds, I wouldn't have started hormones until the end of 23 into 24. 2023, 24, probably 24. I mean, COVID shut down all the general identity clinics. I mean, and I don't have any problems with about that. I mean, ultimately, they're doctors and nurses, and people were dying. And me getting hormones is a lot less of a thing compared to people being intubated and dying. So, there's resources being used because they're still doctors and nurses. They can still care for people in every other sense. So, anyway, so, well, I was really fortunate because they in December of 2020, Manchester got a new, and Liverpool area, and in London, there were 3 pilot programs initiated, which is doing things from a primary care basis. So primary care being, you go to your doctor, I've got a problem with my feet. You said you just had ingrown toenails removed, right? So, I've got a problem with ingrown toenails. Okay, we're going to send you a specialist, and and that takes weeks. So that would be the equivalent of how it's done. So what happens is I get contacted in February of last year, and it's like, okay, we've opened up this new thing. Our waiting lists are a lot shorter. Can we move you from Leeds to us to our books? And it's like, yes, of course. A week later, I had my screening call. 4 weeks later, I had my first assessment, and then a couple of weeks, several weeks after that, I had my second assessment. The second, and in 18 weeks, I went from being first contacted to getting hormones in 18 weeks, which is amazing. It wasn't 18 months. It wasn't, 4 to 5 years. It was 18 weeks. And the only reason it took as long as that did was because there was a bit of an error with a blood test issue. On the first assessment, my doctor, the gender doctor, basically says, okay, we need you to get blood tests. So come down to us in Manchester, we'll get a blood test from you. Well, I have a thyroid issue, and every couple of months I was getting, or am getting, blood tests. And so I said to we need to get, when the gender doctor says we need to get a blood test. So I said, well, look, I've got a blood test coming up in a few weeks' time. So if you send my doctor, my GP's doctor, the surgery, what you need, they can get the sample for you at the same time as the sample they need for them. So that was agreed. Well, unfortunately, when I went and had the blood test, they didn't do a BMI and a blood pressure check. And so the gender doctor was like, can't really do anything without that. And I missed the email saying, yeah, we still need to get the BMI and blood pressure. So when I kind of poked them 5 weeks later or whatever it was, I got told, oh yeah, we sent you an email. And so it was rectified, and then I got the blood test and they got the information, and then I could have the second assessment, at which point the doctor says, yes, you've got gender incongruence, and therefore, let's look at hormones. So I'm sorry, that was quite a lot of diatribe there.
Well, that's okay.
So I've now been taking hormones for 9 months. I'm now into my 10th month. So that's brilliant. And not only that, my dosage has been increased over time. So it's what I take are these little, Wrigley's Juicy Fruit gum.
Yes.
So you imagine a foil packet that's about 2/3 of the length. That's what I'm taking. It's a gel. It's a little gel sachet. You rip the top off, you squirt it on your leg, and you rub it in, and that's how I get my hormones. It's a dermal one. Transdermal. So I went from 0.5 milligrams to 1 milligram to 2 milligrams, and now I'm on 3 milligrams. And it might be increased later again because my testosterone numbers are going down, and my estrogen has gone up remarkably, obviously. And that the idea is you slowly bring it up to what a cis woman takes. Now, one of the problems that I had it this week actually. I've been having some problems with supply a couple of times. That they haven't had any in, or So what happened was I got I put in my prescription over the internet to my doctors, and then they send it to the pharmacy, which is nominated, which I nominate, and then I just go there and pick them up, after a couple of days. Well, unfortunately, what happened was they didn't have any of the Sandrina gel that I use, and we're not going to have any until April. And it's like, I run out tomorrow. I've only got like today's left, so I've got none tomorrow. And so I ended up sort of phoning up various pharmacies to see if they had any, and no one had. And ultimately, I phoned up my doctors again and said, "Look, I've got a problem. Is there another form that I can take if because I can't seem to get it anyway?" So the pharmacists at the doctors, they phoned up and they found a supply for me. And they phoned up and they said, "Right, we've got a supply for you. It's up at the certain place on the other side of town, up a hill," which was a lot of fun to get to, riding a bicycle. But they managed to get it. Well, while I was talking to the pharmacist, I said, "Look, is it possible that I could have an extra month in reserve? Because I've had a couple of times where I've had supply issues, and I've had to miss a couple of a few days of dosages, and they really don't want you doing that. That you need to have a steady level, because if it's going up and down, then you could get mood swings and all sorts of other things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit like antidepressant medication. If you don't take it, then you can, all the stats become erratic, and as a result, your life becomes erratic as well. So they need you to have a nice steady stream, as it were. Mm-hmm. Well, so I said, look, if I can have an extra month, I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to take 4 or anything. All that'll happen is I'll keep it in reserve, so that if there's a shortage, at least I've got something to tide me over. And she says, yeah, that's fine. So I've now got way more than I need. I've got 2 months worth of HRT. So that's made life a lot easier, or less worrisome is probably right. So that's about it really. Sorry, I talk a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I am so glad you did. So I actually kind of want to end the stream because I need food. But Laura, you please definitely stick around in the queue afterwards, because I want to talk to you.
Oh, sure.
But I hope everybody enjoyed this ingrown toenail removal thing as I soaked my feet and have some salt. But yeah,
my mum had hers removed when in the mid-80s, and the reason was, and you're going to love this one, so my mum came from a slum town, so to speak, poor family and stuff like that, and she went and joined the Air Force, and that's how she met my father, and that's how I came along. Then they divorced, but they both met 2 people that they devoted to, which is great. But when in the so my mum had this really unfortunate problem. So there used to be, when my mum was growing up, there used to be sort of a dual education system. The average kids went to the comprehensive school, but the smarter kids went to grammar school. And so my mum was smart, and she managed to get into grammar school. She got invited to go to grammar school. But my grandparents thought that she was stupid, and so they refused to let her. And the reason why they refused to let her is because my grandma had already bought a second-hand uniform in the colours of the school that they expected her to go to. My mum wore second-hand clothes a lot, and one of the problems that she had was that her feet were pushed into shoes that were too small for her. So you know how toes are kind of like oval shaped, but the flat at the top and bottom? My mum's toes are vertically, so they're like an egg shape, I suppose you could say. They're you know, but the side to side is less than the top to bottom, and so the toenails were damaged by having to wear other people's second-hand shoes that didn't fit her properly. So yeah, as a result, my mum's got really weird, ugly feet, and she had to have her big toenails removed in the 80s when we lived in Germany. So yeah.
Oh.
At least-
Well, yikes.
Have they been removed, the toenails, or just trimmed and treated?
All right. Well,
No, I'm asking you about yours.
no, I just had the ingrown bits removed. I've got on my left big toe. There's a weird curvature of the nail.
Right.
The doctor wants to remove, but he didn't. I already had the ingrown bit of my right little toe removed, and the left little toe, and the left side of my left big toe removed. He didn't want to do too much trauma to my feet, so he just did those three, but he wants to also remove the inside part of my left big toe.
Yeah. I know it's not the same thing, but I do share your pain at the moment because I went and walking. Being Aspie, I can kind of a bit clumsy sometimes, and I was walking down the hallway at home, and I accidentally kicked my foot out a bit more than normal and caught it on the door frame. And at the bottom of the door frame, it's got one of the, you know, the little cable holders, so you can have, you know, it's like a nail with a sort of a U-shaped thing, and you just hammer something in. Well, I got one of those, and I think I caught that, and so this is what my toe looks like at the moment. I've just shared a picture with you.
Okay, let me.
It's the one next to the pinky. It looks, actually doesn't look as bad in the photo than it does in real life. It's a lot.
Look good.
It's a lot bluer and sort of red and bruised in real life.
Looks pretty terrible.
Yeah, it's just it's not really bad. I mean, it's more uncomfortable when you touch it or bump it, but also it's itchy. You know, when you got an itch.
I hope your podiatrist gets to you right away.
Oh, it's not worth going to a podiatrist. I've just bumped my toe and it's bruised for a week or whatever, and it'll go away and it's fine. You know, it's no more a bruise than you might get on your knee or, you know, whatever, ankle or whatever. You know, it's just a bruise.
I mean, it looks bad to me, but
nah, it's not broken or anything. You know, it's just tender.
Okay.
And of course, everything
you say so.
as well. Of course. You know, it's a bit like you fall over your greedy knee, and then every single thing wants to bump into your knee.
Yeah.
You know, now whether that's true or not, you know, I don't know. I mean, it could just be you bump your knee all the time. It's just you don't realize it because it's not tender the rest of the time.
Yeah, but now it feels like it. So
yeah,
I get it.
So, but yeah, like I say, the biggest problem with it at the moment is that it's itchy. it just feels like I've got something crawling under my skin and need to keep scratching it. But it's a bit tender, so you've got to scratch in certain ways, otherwise it hurts again. It's the repair process.
Yeah. But I need food. So thank you again, everybody, for sticking around and watching. Again, Laura, please stick around because
Yep.
I want to talk to you about something real quick, which the rest of you may or may not figure out. But yeah, take it easy, everyone, and I'll see you all in the next one. All right.
Bye.